Oldboy is regarded as one of the greatest films of all time due to its technical achievements, storytelling, and the wider effect its release had on world cinema. Today, however, I'd like to hone in on the film's editing, and specifically the editing used in the section of the story where Odesu is imprisoned in the hotel room for 15 years. I think these scenes are incredibly effective in detailing the results that this solitary confinement, combined with the length of time, have on the mind of the main character. This section is probably the most important in the whole story, and portraying it as the incredible emotional and physical torture it is, was key to allowing the audience to empathise with the main character and be on board with the decisions he makes throughout the narrative. Before we get into the editing, I'd like to highlight very quickly how great the title design is for the film. It's off topic, I know, but it's so effective at communicating one of the themes of the story, which is the passing of time, as well as subtly preparing the audience for the next section's focus on Odesu's struggle with the passing time in the room. I will mostly be going through this section chronologically, but as there are moments that jump around, I'll be adjusting accordingly. From the moment that we jarringly cut to the hatch outside of the room to the moment that Odesu wakes up outside is just over 12 minutes. Every second of these minutes is used incredibly well, and not a moment is wasted in honing in on plot elements and information that the audience needs to know. We open on a close-up of a small hatch, which is a great microcosm of the character's predicament. The choice to hang on this shot for nearly a minute is also a great touch to heighten the emotion and the feeling of claustrophobia. Dropping the audience into a point where he's been in the room for over 2 months is an effective way to avoid a cliche scene of waking with the character on their first day, and helps to accentuate his desperation, as well as how natural it would be for him to shout, scream and grab at the person delivering food. The next cut shows us the other side of the hatch and gives the audience its first look at the room. Breaking the 180 rule is a great way to emphasise the emotion and puts us into the same kind of headspace as Odesu. Voiceover is also used here to highlight an interesting question, but I think a great touch is that this voiceover is from the perspective of an Odesu who has already escaped. This is a first step that the film takes into more surreal territory, and it won't be the last time. By breaking rules that a lot of Western cinema hold as sacred, such as the 180 rule and the use of voiceover to exposit information, Oldboy is already setting a precedent that the story and journey of the characters is better explored by breaking some rules. A slow fade is used to bring us into the next shot, which is used to highlight the writing on the underside of a painting. The slow fade, I think, is another neat touch in conveying the sense of time. They're used a lot in this sequence to highlight when the narrative jumps forward in time. Ants appears to come out of Odesu's skin, which indicates his growing insanity. The television communicates the information that his wife has been murdered, and he's been set up to take the blame for it. Having this audio play over the shots of imaginary ants crawling over his face is an incredibly powerful and haunting image. A strange series of sounds play, which are then punctuated with the noise of the mirror being shattered. Quick cuts show us that this was a desperate attempt to take his own life, but the people keeping Odesu imprisoned won't let him even have that. The painting is then cut to again with another slow fade on the face. I find the repetition of the images very interesting, as it's done in conjunction with similar shot composition, possibly to mimic how repetitive the experience of living in this room is. Voiceover highlights that the TV is being used to help Odesu keep track of the date and time. Having this be communicated in this way is incredibly clever, as it's how the audience will also learn how long he's been in there, by using footage of famous events from around the late 90s and early 2000s, such as the death of Princess Diana in 1997, and the attacks on the World Trade Center in 2001. The noise of the mirror being shattered happens again, along with another repeated shot of Odesu being dragged away. Having this happen so soon after the last time is another clever way of having time feel like it's almost being diluted down to these huge sorts of events, because they're now happening in quick succession. Like the other days aren't even worth seeing or nothing of note happens in them. Odesu begins to write in his prison journal a list of all the people he can think of that he's hurt throughout his life. Another fade, along with a glimpse of his behaviour in the opening scene of the film, really do paint a picture of a man with a long tapestry of regrets, which makes his transformation all the more satisfying. There are great moments where a montage of close-ups are used to highlight tiny movements in the environment. These are really effective at showing how Odesu's mind has started to hyperfixate on his environment, and tiny moments of noise are breaks for him in the monotony. When Odesu begins to train himself in martial arts, jump cuts are used to quickly showcase different parts in his training routine. We're never given a clear frame of time for this. Is it days, weeks or months we're jumping through? It's just another activity that's become part of the routine. One shot we hang on is where his hand is damaged by his repeated punching of the wall. It's never stated in the film, but I wonder if this moment of intense pain being left in represents a kind of break in his stagnation. It's probably the first big sensation he's felt in a long time. The quick cut back to his punching the wall again is a great punctuation to this. Like, Odesu is just becoming this force of nature who won't stop because of the great rage he feels from this injustice. We are then shown him applying tattoos to himself. As he explains in the voiceover, this is to remind himself how many years that he's been in here. Showing this in conjunction with the chopstick being used to dig helps punctuate the dialogue. This is the beginning of a sort of mini-narrative in regard to the digging out of the room. It's an activity that will be witnessed repeatedly in order to show just how long it takes him to do this, as well as the distortion of time with the use of voiceover counting up the years from 9, and the use of news footage to showcase the date rapidly changing. The contrast between him slowly working on the bricks, while other information informs us of time flying by very quickly, is so effective at showing the emotional toll this stay has had on Odesu. The incredible performance is obviously doing a lot of the heavy lifting too, as we see how vigorously he licks the rainwater off his hand, his first taste of the outside world in 15 years. The voiceover desperately repeats the line, "In 1 month I'll be out," which is interrupted by other thoughts of what will happen when he gets out, like how will I get money, should I steal or rob, what will I eat first. The screen fades to black as Odesu falls unconscious with the voiceover still highlighting his frenzied thoughts. The sound of the door being opened cuts us back into the room where a woman enters. The only sound we can hear is her words, which are used to hypnotise. Them being the only noise is a subtle touch to make us feel the power of them. We then get one of the best scene transitions in all of cinema as a string score plays over the rest of the scene.
푸른 잔디가 끝없이 펼쳐진 들판입니다. 찬란한 햇빛이 비추고 산들바람이 붑니다.
As he wakes up from the box, we get some cuts of the effect that sunlight is having as his eyes adjust. This moment is so well edited to showcase the pure chaos and confusion that Odesu is experiencing in the sensory overload. The cut showing that this field of grass was just a small space on a rooftop is the cherry on the cake. In conclusion, I feel very strongly that the use of editing in the sequence from Oldboy is truly very effective at highlighting how time can affect the mind of a normal man. A lot of different visual and auditory techniques are used in order to make what's actually a very small portion of the overall narrative feel visceral and engaging. Every moment is used to its maximum capacity and helps to deliver as much information as possible in the most effective way. We've seen it done a lot worse in other films, most especially the 2013 remake of this very story, which gave us so much less meat to chew on in a longer section of the same events. It's not a surprise to me that Oldboy is often the gateway to an entire world of cinema, and it's my hope that this video has convinced you to give the film a try.
멜로디가 울리면 가스가 나온다. 가스가 나오면 잠이 온다.